But of course, the sideshow is the lead today. We start with more on Nevada, where just like on Capitol Hill, it's silly season. John Ralston covers politics for the Las Vegas Sun and hosts Face to Face on NBC stations in Nevada. And Vaughn Ververs is the politics editor for MSNBC.com. So, look, we got to start with what happened on Capitol Hill. Here's an exchange between Michigan Congressman John Conyers and Stephen Colbert today. Let's listen.
I'm asking you to leave the committee room completely and submit your statement instead.
I'm here at the invitation of the chairwoman, and if she would like me to remove myself from the hearing room, I'm happy to do so. I'm only here at her invitation.
That is correct.
Thank you very much. That's fair enough.
Okay, Vaughn, let me start with you. You've been doing this as long as I have, watching the 24/7 news cycle infect Congress. And now it sort of has gone to a level I don't think any of us ever thought, where an actor or a comedian decides to go in character on Capitol Hill. What did we witness today?
Well, I really think that was the sticking point right there, Chuck, is we've seen celebrities parade up in Congress. Kevin Costner was just up there recently talking about Coast Guard issues. I mean, they're in and out of that place all of the time. But for Colbert to be there in character was really taking this to an entirely new level, and a really bizarre level at that. Now, I mean, I think what they were trying to do, and you have to give them credit, they were trying to get attention. Zoe Lofgren, the chairwoman, was trying to get attention for this issue. She certainly succeeded, but I think that she and other Democrats on the Hill are going to be a little surprised at the negative attention that they get over this rather than to the issue itself.
All right, John, I want to go to you in a minute. Here's a little bit more of Colbert testifying today. Take a listen.
Now, we all know there is a long tradition of great nations importing foreign workers to do their farm work. After all, it was the ancient Israelites who built the first food pyramids. But this is America. I don't want a tomato picked by a Mexican. I want it picked by an American, then sliced by a Guatemalan, and served by a Venezuelan in a spa where a Chilean gives me a Brazilian.
All right, John, we're going to go to the craziness that you're in the middle of in Nevada in a minute. But, look, you're not here in Washington. We're here. I'm here in New York. Vaughn in Washington. We're seeing this, and a lot of us, frankly, are offended that sort of an institution that, while can get mocked all the time, went down a road that we thought they weren't even capable of. But what are you seeing out in Nevada? How did you see this from your perch?
Wait a second, that's a Stephen Colbert character? That's not the real Stephen Colbert? I'm shocked to hear that. We didn't know that out here in Nevada. Right. But seriously, the real problem, of course, is what you know. People hold Congress in such disrepute already, and they think it's a joke, and then they see Stephen Colbert go before Congress in character and make comments like the ones you just said. I mean, I can't see how that helps the Democrats. They can say that they're bringing a higher profile to an important issue, but I think people just see it as a comedy show.
And it is. Here's even more of Stephen Colbert, Vaughn. Take a listen.
I've got to ask, why isn't the government doing anything? Maybe this ag jobs bill would help. I don't know. Like most members of Congress, I haven't read it.
I guess, Vaughn, what I don't understand is, look, Stephen Colbert is who he is. He knew what he was doing, and he certainly didn't make any pretense that he was going to be anything other than what he was. Why were all those members of Congress sitting there? Why didn't they leave? I mean, we heard Conyers try to say that. Nobody else did, even the Republicans.
Well, I think that's a good question. In fact, Conyers was sort of, giving the early warning signal. I'm not sure a lot of members of Congress really got what was going on there today. I mean, when Stephen Colbert sits there and talks about entering his footage of his colonoscopy into the congressional record, you would think that that would sound some alarm bells in their heads. They seem to just be playing along with this. And I think John is exactly right. I mean, this is just reinforcing the negative opinions that most people have of Congress. And I think that they're going to be really surprised that this is going to have a lot of backlash against them.
Now, Speaker Pelosi was asked about Colbert's testimony today. Let's listen to how she responded.
Do you think that it was appropriate that he testified today?
Of course I think it's appropriate. He's an American, right? He comes before the committee, has a point of view. He can bring attention to an important issue like immigration. I think it's great.
You know, one thing I'm wondering about, and I've seen some reaction on Twitter, John, you're a big user of it, I'm a big user of it. Folks have been upset at me when I said, today felt like a day that sort of embarrassed the institution of Congress. I had some folks argue, I would say it feels like a blue state, red state divide here, from sort of the coastal side of things saying, hey, you know what? that's what satire does. Sometimes satire is the best way to bring out an issue and bring attention to an issue in a very smart way. You know, is this one of those things where maybe there is a blue state, red state divide, and maybe the heartland is going to look at this and say, this is exactly why we want to throw the bums out?
Well, I think in the 24/7 world we live in now, Chuck, and you mentioned Twitter, and things get posted, and they're being posted even as we're speaking. Right. I don't think this is going to last that long, but I really think that the problem here is what we talked about earlier, is that immigration is a serious issue, and then you have Stephen Colbert, who is a very, very funny guy. As a matter of fact, coincidentally, he had the Las Vegas mayor, Oscar Goodman, on his program last night in a farce, but he's a farcical guy. Right. And to take an issue like that and have him talking about Mexicans picking tomatoes and then Guatemalans, I think that's going to rub both blue state folks and red state folks the wrong way. And let's remember, this stuff in the congressional record, you know, you can't see tone. You can't read tone. Just like you can't read tone in email, you can't read tone in the congressional record. It's going to live forever. All right, I want to jump to Nevada. John, first we got to show the video of what happened last night. Here's this fight at a Christian school. You know, I guess nobody was channeling their inner Christian here, between Angle supporters, Harry Reid supporters. We know that this is a race to the bottom. In fact, you wrote today, you wrote a column today that basically said you almost see why voters in Nevada are going to put up their hands and not want either one of these guys. But, of course, you have none of the above on the ballot. So tell me this, John. You were there. What happened? It was a very strange crowd, Chuck, just to set the stage so people know. This was an hour-long forum. Harry Reid wasn't even there. He had previously answered set questions. They had been given them before, and he answered them by videotape. They played that videotape. Then Sharon Angle was there. There were about 800 people there. Clearly, the Reid folks had sent some people in there, and the Democrats had sent some people in there. But both sides were equally unruly. Certainly, Angle, who was live, was getting heckled. And then at the end, as she was leaving, there was this scuffle that broke out, and there were some astonishing pictures on the Las Vegas Sun's website of this man who apparently was an Angle supporter throwing a fist right at a woman who was apparently really bothering him and trying to get by him. Who started it? Who knows? Who cares? But this is emblematic of this race, Chuck, the kind of passions that are going on both sides. And it's not go Sharon or go Harry. It's kill Sharon or kill Harry. It's the animus that's out there in this state toward these candidates is just astonishing. You know, Vaughn, every cycle we always say, boy, it's never going to get stranger than this, and it's never going to get stranger than that. And yet, this cycle, of course, every election cycle takes on its own personality. This is one where it feels like all of the venom that you read about on the left and the right is now starting to be actually channeled at rallies. Well, and I think you've seen that throughout the campaign, frankly. You've seen commercials that talk about, you know, get your arms together and let's go against this federal government. You've heard some absurd rhetoric, like what Newt Gingrich has used, some crazy rhetoric. That's right. And you know, as a result of the campaigns using that kind of rhetoric, what do we expect to start happening other than open brawls at campaign events? You know, at one point you do wonder if this is going to actually start turning people off. And, you know, the irony of what Colbert's doing there, he and Jon Stewart are trying to have this rally on the Mall for sanity. And, of course, Colbert today, in many ways, contributed to the insanity. Vaughn, before I let you go, we got a new feature that we're all teaming up on MSNBC.com. We call it the Voter Confidence Index. Tell us more about it. Well, what we're trying to do with this, Chuck, is measure kind of the impact of some of this anger that we see out there. We've taken the average of big poll questions that these national major polls ask commonly, and we've averaged them together, and we've come up with a number that sort of illustrates where the feeling, the mood of the country is. Negative is bad, positive is good. President Obama started out with very high ratings. He's now down to negative 38. We've also taken that back, and we've looked at how those numbers stack up historically to other midterm elections. He's right now, the president and his party are about the same level as Bill Clinton was in 1994, a little bit better shape, in fact. They're worse off than where President Bush was in 2006. We're not trying to be predictive of this. Right. We're just trying to give people a way to look at what's going on, what that could mean for the midterm elections, what it's meant in the past. Well, it's sort of like our Dow Jones ticker
right there on the politics page of MSNBC.com. Anyway, Vaughn Ververs, editor of the political editor at MSNBC.com, and John Ralston, who's got a front row seat and can actually use boxing cliches to cover a Senate race and mean it. Anyway, thank you both.